Hey everyone, thanks a lot for joining me again tonight. I'm going to be doing another first impression review. Tonight's going to be a saber I just got in recently. It's Denis Lukyanov's Creepy Uncle. This is the third version of this hilt that he has done, and I got this through Justin over on Saber Bay. I got it through his Etsy site. Highly recommend using Justin, especially if you're US based. He's got great customer service, great communication. For example, when I ordered this hilt, when I first got it, there was some damage to the emitter and some chipping along the grenade section, and I contacted him just to let him know. He said, don't worry about it, ship it back to me. He sent me out a brand new one. He kept up the communication very quickly, quick to respond. I highly recommend him. I've used him before and I have never been disappointed. So again, if you're in the US, definitely take a look at going into his store. He's got a very good selection of accessories as well as some hilts. So what I want to do tonight is I kind of want to go over this hilt a little bit, and then at the end I'm going to show it off against the Roman's Balance V4, since these are both based on the Last Jedi Luke Skywalker hilt. They're very, very similar. So let me give you some close-ups here. So we have the emitter. Now Denis went with brass instead of copper. And I know that is a debate over on the RPF, whether it was copper or brass coloring. You can see the tri-ring is in the right spot. I just have not installed it yet. I have not installed the arrows either just yet. You can see there is a little bit of a rocker for the black box here on the control box for activation. There is also what seems to be two switch holes here to possibly do clamp card activation. And again, you can also see, again, brass rails here up on the clamp card. The one nice thing that I really liked what Denis did is Denis made this NeoPixel ready. He has the blade plug here, is all ready to go. It just needs a nice little PCB on the inside to let this guy light up. Also on the inside of this, so when it comes to you, there's a Tricree Emitter Cup that would sit in here, just like most thin necks that you would have. But what Denis actually did was, you can see there's a section in here that's recessed in for a NeoPixel PCB to be held in there, and that would make everything flush, which is great because most thin necks, if the emitter is screwed into the neck via an emitter cap or a Tricree like this, the blade has to sit over it. So you have to have a recessed PCB inside the blade in order for that to be really secure and make sure that the blade won't have too much wobble or even come out, because you need that as much blade depth as possible when dealing with a thin neck. There were two pommel caps that came with this. There is the static looking one, and as you can see, it unscrews from here. This is a very, very fine line, very hard to see that seam in there. And then this is something that was something that Lukyanov did, which I thought was great. And it is a very static looking pommel cap, as you can see. However, there's this very thin line, and on the inside of that, he has his logo. And if you can see, I'm going to try to angle this cap as much as possible. There are sound venting holes. So this whole thing is vented for sound underneath here, but still looks static. I thought that was a very nice change of pace, because most vented pommel caps look something like this. This is from my Balance V4. So very, very different. Some of the accessories that come with this, obviously the red and the green arrows for the control box. Some LEDs to light those up, as well as the switches. Tri-ring, and then Justin was very kind, since he had to send me another hilt and I had to wait. He sent me a 3D printed box kit for the control box, for the LEDs to sit as well as the switches to sit in here. So I really appreciated that. I thought that was great. Again, very good customer service. So as you can see here, taking this bad boy off, okay, brass neck is threaded right into the emitter, and also the brass neck also threads into the grenade section. You can see you have a very small blade retention screw here. I am a big, this has really grown on me, the emitter rings that are on here. The hole is very similar to Obi-Wan's hilt. I really actually have grown to like that quite a bit. This unscrews in the middle. Not too many threads, so it comes off kind of quick. All right, so inside here and here. Goth does have a 3D printed chassis for this that you can print out. There is a basic one and then one for a crystal chamber if you want to do something fancy. There are 2 sides to this clamp card. This is the stock card that it comes with. Okay. It feels really, really nice in the hands. It's like this, the control box is a little bit slimmer than the one that was on Luke's from Return of the Jedi. It's not as tall. I believe it's just as wide, but it's not as, it doesn't sit as high up. But it is very smooth. The pommel cubes were machined very nicely. There's no rough edges around anything, no rough edges around the control box or around the rings themselves. The anodizing was done very, very well. Again, you have these even rings here. This to me reminds me of Luke's The Return of the Jedi from Master Replicas that they did, which, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe I have read this before, I believe they used that Master Replicas hilt as a reference for the Force Awakens, which in turn they would of course use for The Last Jedi. I could be wrong on that, so please don't yell at me if I'm mistaken that, but I'm pretty sure that's what I had read. It's an interesting hilt. I'm happy that I just wish this hilt got more screen time in the movie. I'm still upset that the final battle scene had Luke with his Graflex and not his green hilt. But that's just me, because I love that green lightsaber hilts very, very much. But overall, I thought this is it's a very well made hilt. You know, he's gotten some chances to kind of fix some things and make some changes for the better compared to the first 2. I think you can still find this. I know there's people selling it on the Facebook pages as well as on some of the sites like Justin's on Etsy. I'm not sure if KR Sabers still has it if you're overseas. I'm not sure if he's sold out or not. But if you're looking for a dedicated Last Jedi Luke hilt, this is not a bad one to go with. Now again, depending on if your preference is either copper or brass, that might change your mind, where again, this is all brass. But here is my Romans, and this one is copper. Now yes, I have weathered this. This is something that I've been working on for quite some time. The chassis for this one is basically complete. I just have to finish doing the control box, but I haven't really touched on this in a long time because it's I just had a lot going on this past year, just with work and obviously with the pandemic. So my installs have really slowed down. So I've been purchasing a couple of hilts, but I have not been working on my installs at all. I'm very, very behind in that. But this was the second version that Roman made, and he made some really nice improvements over the first iteration. I have done videos on both the first generation and second generation of his hilt, which you can watch on my channel. But I did want to show off the size difference between the 2, and I really hope this comes out well. You can see that Denis's is slightly taller, minimal, very, very small. The 2 of these guys, let's see how well these guys hold up here. But size-wise, very, very similar compared to these 2. I actually think it's down in near the clamp section, or the lower booster is where there's the difference. For a while, I think Lukyanov was selling these weathered. I did not see any of those, though. I think all those weathered ones had been sold out, so I had to get it clean. I don't know if I'm going to put all the effort into weathering this one just yet. And I'm going to tell you guys why. With Roman's, if you remember, is that he has the Emitter Cup just like this that screws into the neck that secures the emitter into it. So if you are going to be doing a blade in this, unless you plan on completely shaving down the emitter cup for, I'm sorry, I keep calling it the emitter cup, the Tri-Cree cup, to do NeoPixel, you're going to end up having to do the recessed PCB inside the blade to make it slip over and secure it. I do really like, I think his weighs more. They're very similar. I'd say maybe Roman's slightly heavier. But, I mean, if you just wanted to see here the difference between copper and the brass, and if you look at the control boxes, they are very, very similar. The rails are very different between the copper and then the brass. So again, this is a little bit more low profile to me in my eyes compared to looking at Roman's copper. I think this sits up just a little bit higher. And Roman's, the black bar, for him is static. It doesn't do anything. This is complete clamp card activation. The arrows, I believe, are very similar in size. Both tri-rings, I believe, are in the correct spots. The one difference on the pommel cubes is that he does have the divot in his on Roman's, and Denis's does not. But you know, overall, I think they're both very, very well made hilts. Depending on who you want to go with. I know Roman's, he came out with his first, and then made some changes for his Gen 2, and then Denis came out with his, like I said, in mid to late 2018. This one is definitely a little more NeoPixel friendly, I will say that. I don't know if Roman has made a new version of his or not. I really haven't kept up with the hilt since I purchased it. But I don't know how far I'm actually going to go with installing anything any further, because I just heard from Halowax, and then I had to go on the RPF and I checked it out, is that Dan, also known as Anakin Starkiller, is going to be making an FX version of the Last Jedi hilt. So I already have Dan's Hero and his Yuma. I have his V2, so I am most likely going to get his creepy uncle, the V4, and see what this is like. Already I've seen the renderings that he has up, and they look great. Again, I think him and Roy from Wanawanga, I believe, were collaborating on some measurements. So I am looking forward to that, because Dan's a pretty big stickler with accuracy to get it as close as possible. And I really want to just add his to the collection. I kind of been like getting everything that he's been putting out, so to kind of have that one as well, to me would just about complete the collection. So I don't know how far I'm going to go with these. For right now, I'm just going to put these things on hold. If and when Dan does end up doing a run, and if I do grab it, I'll probably end up selling these guys off. This one will be nice and clean. The one nice thing about Roman's is that it's already been weathered using aluminum black. But if you know, depending on what your preference is, if you're looking to do something now, I'd say head over to the Etsy shop for Saber Bay and take a look and see if he has any of these left. If you're overseas, check out KR Sabers. I believe they also have some of these left in stock, possibly. And of course, on the Saber pages, the Facebook pages, I'm sure there's going to be some for sale every now and then. These guys pop up. But again, I do think it's a really nice hilt. It's very well made. I'm not big into dueling with my thin necks. If anything, I do really like sparring with my kids just for fun. But I believe this was made and that you can duel with this, from what I remember with, like Denis said. I just don't know how hard you really want to go with this. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I just want to do a quick little video. I am currently working on my my V3 hilts that I'm hoping to install. That one was from Spirit of Obi-Wan. I'm trying to get that done. So I'm really slow with installs right now, so if I get that done within the next month or two, I'll be extremely happy. But the crystal chambers are so delicate and time consuming. Sometimes I could just wish I could just throw it together with a real basic chassis and just get it going. But because it's a Luke's hilt, I really want to do a nice crystal chamber for that as well. But as soon as I'm done with that, I promise you I will do a nice little install video. So with that, guys, I'm going to sign off, and if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below as always, and I will do my best to give you guys an answer. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of the evening.